Okay, so let's have a look at this game. I do apologize for the parrots here. I hope they're not too disturbing. We have this on the road studio here. I'm not at my apartment, but let's see the game. So the 100 game winning streaks on the line here. Maxim Vasilograph, or MVL, as the chess world calls him, has the white pieces, and King Liren the black pieces. This is from the Shenzhen Masters being played now in China. And MVL opened with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. So King Liren very often playing these classical openings. We have seen a lot of Ruy Lopez's in his games. One famous game against Karakin in the last round of the candidates. But in this one, Italian game by MVL, bishop to c4, knight to f6, inviting the right liver here by going knight g5, but we transpose after d3 to bishop to c5. Castles, castles. Here, okay, c3 is the main move, but we got a transpose here, rook e1, d6, and now c3. And here, yeah, a6 and h6 are the most common moves, but Ding played a5 here, which I seem to recall having seen in some recent games. Maybe not this exact position, but a5 definitely an idea. I remember one game from, I think the candidates where black went for this maneuver. Probably Karakin Mamedyarov. Mamedyarov Karakin. Okay, bishop g5. And Ding here aggressively decides to break the pin immediately with h6. And bishop h4, g5. Inviting white to go for the sacrifice, but in the vast majority of games, white does not go for the sacrifice and plays bishop g3. It's considered better for black. There was a recent try, I think by David Eccleston, an international master from England, probably against Vidit in the Isle of Man, where he took on g5. That didn't work out for him. And MVL plays bishop g3. Bishop a7 now. Preemptively backing off from the d4 break. Knight a3. Now, since the usual maneuver in the Italian is to put the knight on g3, but we already have a piece on g3, so MVL goes with the knight the other way. But now novelty. Previously, bishop to g4 had been played here. Was played in the game Giri against Elyanov. Logical move, pinning the knight, but Giri won that game with white. Ding, however, went with knight to h7. And the idea here is simply to push h5 to h4, and the bishop on g3 is lost if we manage to push there. And the knight on h7 is covering the pawn on g5. That's one of the ideas of this move, knight h7. Okay, knight d2 now by MVL. And the queen prevents black from going h5 by covering the square. But Ding insists g4, cutting off the queen, and now he wants to play h5, h4. The only downside of this plan is that if it backfires, your king could be weak. Okay, knight b5, positional threat of capturing the bishop, so the bishop moves. But now it's black's turn. He is actually threatening to play a4 here, and then move his knight to a5. And then we're going to be able to capture the bishop and win the bishop pair. Get the trait of knight for a bishop, which is usually considered a good one. So that explains bishop to b3 by MVL, and now a4. Bishop c2 was played, but okay, I hear you. What about, isn't this pawn hanging? It is, but if white takes, black can push h5. h4 is threatened, so you have to do something, ah4, and now we take. And turns out we kind of need the queen here to take, but if we do that, well, rook takes a4, so taking on h3 allows h4, and then the knight jumping into the game, one of the ideas of knight h7. This is an overwhelming position for black, probably much better. So bishop c2 by MVL. We have h5 now insisting on this idea, and white plays h4 here. The only way to stop h4, he had to move a pawn. But now, okay, the first moment where the computer criticizes black a little bit. Perhaps you should have taken on h3 en passant here. Queen takes h5 and king g7. This doesn't look very human-like. The idea with this is just to cover some squares here when you play f6, and yeah, at the moment you're covering h6 with the queen. So a move like this, f6, covering some squares. But again, yeah, not very human-like idea, and d5 was played by Ding. Problem with this is if your attack backfires, you do have undeveloped pieces on the queen side, the rook and the bishop, and also the king could be exposed. And now d4, and we have, yeah, this big tension in the center. A lot of stuff to calculate and consider, and Ding played d takes e4, and we clarify the situation in the center here. And now rook a5. Strange move, but the computer's first choice. Simply attacking the hanging knight here, and if the knight moves, then we're going to play knight takes e5. So MVL covered the knight with c4, and now e3. Big complications, and really hard to evaluate such a position, really. Of course, MVL took here on e3. He's up a pawn, but it's a double pawn on the e file. And here, knight to b4. MVL pushes a3, pushes the knight away, but it goes into d3. Taking on d3 looks like an option, although he didn't do that. But yeah, maybe bishop f5 next, and okay, black will have some compensation in the form of the bishop pair, but MVL went for a more aggressive option, b4. His rook is hanging, but okay, he's attacking black's rook, so first a takes b3 en passant, and now knight takes b3. Finally, now black takes the hanging rook, and black is up the exchange. However, white has a tremendous bishop on c2, and the black king is exposed, and we do have some dodgy pieces on the queen side for black. Rook takes b5 is an option, but Ding elects to keep the rook with rook a6. But MVL now turns on the screw, c5, making black's pieces on the queen side looking rather silly, and now queen b1, setting up a battery against the knight on h7. f5 blocking it, MVL opens it again with en passant, and now knight takes f6. MVL decides to get rid of the bishop on a7. Okay, at the moment it's rather hemmed in, but it could come to life here on this diagonal, so he elects to take it and make this rook look silly at the moment. Knight d4. So yeah, the king is the main thing here. The king on g8, very exposed because of no pawn cover. So white being down the exchange is not an issue here. The most important thing for him is the piece activity. Queen e7, actually a double attack, and MVL elects to keep the pawn on e3. Ding captures one pawn, and now bishop b3 check. So now white is down the clear exchange, but he's starting to penetrate here, bishop to e6. And now after rook a4, a nice idea here from MVL. Ding put the rook back on e6. After rook a4, he was threatening maybe to do some damage, but yeah, now it's time to test your tactical ability. After bishop takes c8, which was played, what was MVL's idea here? What did he play? Pause the video if you have to, and then come back. So if you managed to solve it, very well done indeed. The move played here by Maxime was queen takes a6, and this rook was cutting off the option of playing knight e6 check. So if you take on a6, now we'll give a big check on e6, and white will be up a piece. But Ding, there's a reason he hasn't lost in 100 games. He had a counter. He played queen takes d4, and now both queens are hanging, and the bad news for white is that his queen and his rook are hanging. So he swung the queen back, queen to f1, covering the rook and getting the queen out of line of fire, and now queen to e4. So after all these complications, we actually have equal material, believe it or not. But the main factor is that the white's king is very safe, but black's has the option of potential of being well exposed. However, the way that Ding has been playing, this is well within drawing range, and he has his chances even in some cases. But this next move, c5, turns out not to be so great because it allows the white rook to penetrate on d6, and this will soon expose the black king, which we talked about so many times in this game. Queen e7, and now queen to a1. Big pin, using the geometry of the board here beautifully with queen to a1. Black gets out of the pin, and up bishop e5. Triple attack on the knight, which has to move, and now rook h6, threatening a big skewer. Ding goes for the counterplay, but too little too late. The queen swings back over, again using the board to its full capacity, and now rook h7. So white is threatening to, if you go to the back rank, I am going to mate you, so you have to go up king e6. And now you could have played queen f7, which you did not do. And after this, you win the queen. And this looks like a forcing variation, attacking the king and the knight. And then you will give another double attack and pick up a pawn. This should be winning. But MVL wanted to go for mate, so he played bishop to c7. And this is actually beautiful geometry. If the queen lands here on f7, we're covering all the squares, and it would be checkmate. So Ding saw no other way than to eliminate the bishop on c7. He took it. Again, we're still threatening queen f7, and with two heavy pieces, it's going to be made soon. But now knight d6, using the nice pattern of the knight defending the king. If you want to learn more about chess strategy and the knight defending the king, I have a video, pattern recognition video on this exact theme, the knight defending the king. Do check it out here in the card if you're interested in chess improvement. I will leave a link in the description as well, but let's get on with the game. MVL took on c5. We have b6, rook c6, and now Ding tries to go for the counterattack, g3 threatening mate, but this is easily preventable by making our a flight square on f1, queen to f3, check, we run another check, turns out there are no more checks, so the queen swings over to give more checks, but there's nothing more to be had here, another check, but the king just runs. King d7 was played here, but queen to f2 actually doesn't amount to anything after this. And now we're just giving mate, and well, I might as well show you. Queen e5 check, and if you go to d8, queen e7 mate, and if you go here, then mate. Ding tried king d7, but rook takes b6, simply picking up stuff, and a nice clinical finish by MVL after queen h7 check, king c8, queen check. If you go to c7, I will check on b8 and pick up the knight with check, mate you in a few moves. So king d7, and the next move, forced resignation. So another moment for you to check your tactical ability. How did MVL finish the game here and force resignation? Assuming you found it or paused the video and came back, the solution is that MVL took on d6, rook takes d6, and Ding Liren resigned, ending his 100 game winning streak. If you take the rook, or if you don't take, I will mate you in a few moves, and if you do take it, I play queen takes g3, and these pawns are enough for the win. So yeah, MVL ends a fantastic streak of 100 games without defeat. Can this be improved upon? Who knows? But Ding, he beat the streak of Tal, who had two very impressive streaks of 90 plus games. But 100 at this level is the record now. Wesley So recently had a very impressive streak as well, and it seems like Ding should be able to do it. Kiri, who knows, but very difficult and a very impressive streak. So very well done indeed by Ding, who I think will be in the running. He's still improving. He will be in the running for the next World Championship, but tomorrow it's game 3 of the World Championship, and I also advise you to stay tuned. I will end my presence here in this video, but I will leave you with some puzzles to think over and a solution to the previous video puzzle that wasn't the World Championship video. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.